Ladies and gentlemen, Chessbox Worldwide is back. We have got a game for you that will make your heart race. Forget the grandmasters, forget the theory. This is a story of guts that changes everything. Today, we dive into a battle between two Uganda's finest chess minds, the formidable Mathius Ssonko, a player known for his precise and relentless pressure, facing off against the upcomer Opoka Joshua, a player with nothing to lose and everything to prove. In today's future on Chessbox Worldwide, we are taking you inside a psychological thriller on the 64 squares to witness the high-stakes showdown between Uganda's own Ssonko Mathius and the rising star Opoka Joshua, a match that began with the dynamic Nxd4 defense. Ssonko Mathius Alan is one of the big guns in the East African chess community. He's the current East African number 5. His major achievement started way back in 2014, winning the highly anticipated Mombasa Open and also qualifying to represent Uganda in a Tromsø Olympiad, Norway in 2014. In 2018, he won the Rwanda Genocide Memorial Championship with an impressive 6.5 out of 7 points, beating IM Emojong Elijah with black pieces at his peak and FIDE Master Wanyama Harold. He has dominated the East and Central African chess scene, and currently he plays for CNHS Club in the National Chess League, while Opoka Joshua is an upcoming player from Uganda who plays for Civil Aviation Chess Club in the National League. He won the Nvidia Gold Medal at the 10th All-Africa University Games Classical Chess. He has won the Kulang Chess Classical Championship with 5 out of 6 points in Malaysia. He's the reigning 2025 Lotus Mutiara champion, all the way from Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock and roll. And in the white pieces, Ssonko Mathius Alan opened the game with 1 e4, and then we see knight c6 from Opoka Joshua, which brings us the Nxd4 defense. d4, and now he's emphasizing to go ahead and push the d5, d5 from Opoka, stopping the d5 idea. In this position, pawn e5 is anticipated, but Ssonko Mathius wanted to see if Opoka Joshua understood very well this opening. So he played e takes d5, and after queen takes d5, knight comes to f3, defending the pawn on d4, e5 from Opoka, trying to fight for the center. Knight c3 is the best move for the position, but however, Ssonko Mathius tried out pawn c4, trying to check and see if Opoka understands this opening. And in this position, queen e4 is the first move, which is anticipated, followed by bishop coming to b4. But however, Opoka began with the second best move from the engine. He played bishop b4 check. Knight bd2 is the best move, but Ssonko Mathius played knight c3. This gave Opoka Joshua a slight advantage in the opening. He played queen e4 check, and after bishop comes to e3, e takes d4, knight takes d4. In this position, bishop g4 is the best follow-up move, but however, Opoka played bishop takes knight on c3, and after b takes c3, he played knight comes to e7. Queen b1 to hit on the queen and also put an eye on the pawn which is on b7, but Ssonko Mathius played queen b3, requesting for an exchange, of which Opoka Joshua declined the exchange. Queen takes d3 is the best move, but he played queen g4, still keeping the bishop to its original square with an eye on the pawn which is on g2. h3 from Ssonko, hitting on the queen, queen h4. g3 should have been anticipated, but he played knight b5, attacking the pawn and threatening to go ahead and fork the king and the rook. We see short castling, and after knight takes c7, Opoka didn't even mind that the knight is hitting on the rook which is on a8. He played bishop comes to f5, hitting on the queen. And after queen d6, rook comes into d8, queen f4, asking for a queen exchange. Queen comes to f6, maintaining the queens and threatening to go ahead and pick the pawn on c3 with a devastating check. Rook c1, defending the pawn on c3. Queen g6, h4, threatening to go ahead and play h5. h5 by Opoka himself. And in this position, it was high time Ssonko Mathius goes on to play f3, opening up a square for the king to hide. But however, he played knight b5. Knight and the bishop are hitting on the pawn which is on a7, but in case the pawn on a7 is taken, then the rook will be coming into a8 and the pawn which is on a2 will be falling. That's why in this position, Opoka played rook e8, not even minding about the pawn which is on a7. Queen comes to g5, requesting for queen exchange. a6, hitting on the knight, and after knight comes to c7, still attacking the rook. Rook goes back to its original square, f8. Bishop comes to e2, hitting on the pawn which is on h5, and in this position Opoka played rook d7, attacking the knight which is on c7, and the knight has only one square, bring it back to d5. So Ssonko Mathius played knight d5, and after knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, rook takes d5. So right now Opoka is up a pawn. See that now the rook is now supporting the bishop, which is sitting on f5. It was high time for Ssonko Mathius to go ahead for short castling. But however, he became materialistic and he went for bishop takes pawn on h5. Joshua played queen e6, threatening all the nasty discoveries on the queen. In case of short castling now, the simple bishop coming to d3, hitting on the rook and also attacking the queen can be seen. And that's why in this position, Ssonko Mathius tried bishop f3, attacking the rook which is on d5. Bishop comes to e4, defending the rook and also attacking the queen which is on g5. This is the critical moment in the game. Queen d3 should have been played, but Ssonko Mathius played queen f4, for example. In case of queen d3, we could have seen bishop takes f3, g takes f3, opening up for another rook to step in and attack the king side. This could be promising for Ssonko. But however, after bishop e4, he played queen f4, and now Opoka got a huge advantage in the game. He played the first one, bishop takes f3, and there are two ways on how white can capture the bishop on f3. There is pawn takes bishop on f3 and queen takes f3. In case of queen takes f3, this is losing and Opoka wins the game on the spot by playing knight e5, hitting on the queen and also threatening the knight to sit on d3, checking the king and winning the rook which is sitting on c1. Let's go back. That's why after bishop takes f3, Ssonko Mathius played f takes f3, and in this position still, Opoka played knight e5, threatening knight check on d3, checking the king and winning the queen on spot. And remember that also the rook was going to be hanging. So in this position, Ssonko Mathius tried king e2, and now Opoka went on and played knight d3. He's now forking the rook and the queen, and in this position he played queen f4, trying to move away queen from harm's way. And now we see knight takes c1, rook takes c1, and in this position, after rook e8. In this position, players' records and writings were not very clear in this position, but however, Opoka went on to push on the game and he won eventually. Posting the PGN of the full game once it's out on the chess results. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your games. Your feedback about this game in the comment section. Feel free to go ahead, like, subscribe and comment to support the channel.